Just a quick video today. I'm out in the garden, just having a bit of a practice making some feather sticks. In the last video, or the first video with the camp, you saw me trying to make some feather sticks with my new knife. And I'm going to be honest, it's a knife that I've not used very much. I got it for my birthday in October, so I've had it not quite a month and a half now, and there's not been all that much time to get out and really practice with it. So I really struggled to make the feather sticks, and as I was just practicing, I thought I'd make a video about them because somebody asked me, how do you go about making a fire? What are some things that you can think about? And I think one of the most important things really are feather sticks, or fire sticks as they're called. And what a feather stick basically is a way of making very fine shavings, which can help you light a fire. So it's basically tinder stage, but instead of the shavings just being loose on their own like a normal tinder, it's actually attached to a slightly thicker piece of wood, which can actually then help the fire to really get going. So it's a bit of a combination between tinder and kindling all together. So I think what I'll do is I'll just take you over to where I'm making the feather sticks, show you what I'm doing, and talk a little bit about the issues. Because I'm going to be honest, with my new knife, I'm kind of struggling. And it just comes down to practice, which is what it's all about. Practice makes perfect. So what I'm going to do is show you then making some feather sticks. I'll practice with the new knife, but then I'll also show making one with a Mora knife, which I'm more used to. It's a different grind, and some people say that you can only really make them with something like a Mora with a Scandinavian grind, or of course any knife with a Scandinavian grind, not just a Mora, and some of the thicker knives really struggle, whereas other people say it's just about technique. So let's go. I'll show you the process and some things to think about, and then lighting them up. And so in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made earlier. It's not really a wonderful feather stick, I'm going to be honest. A real feather stick you should be able to light with a ferro rod if your feathers are fine enough. And so I've got some shavings here which I should be able to light up. But what you're basically looking to do is you're looking to run the blade down this piece of wood and carve off some very fine slithers of wood. And with a feather stick, they should stay on the wood. Shavings, you can just take off the wood and you have your shavings down the bottom. The feather stick, they should stay on. Now, angle is key. So what you don't want to do is just kind of hold the wood loosely or something like that, because then as you're applying pressure, the wood can move. What you want to do is try and keep this piece of wood as stable as you can, and then find your angle, and this is where practice with a particular knife comes in. Find your angle and slide it down and shave off some wood. Now, as you can see, a lot of them there are popping off. And that's the problem. This is why I really need to practice with this knife. I'll show you now with a knife that I'm more familiar with. This is my Mora. This is a light my fire Mora. Get myself a nice clean area to work with. And if it's too thick, then you'll have a problem lighting it. What you want to try and do is get them nice and consistent and as thin as possible, with still taking the wood. Just clearing myself a bit of an area there to work. Now, one thing to bear in mind, depending on the angle of the knife, as you run it, you still run it straight down, but depending on the angle that you hold the knife, that will allow the curls to go in one direction or the other. So if I hold the knife pointing with the point downwards, the curls will curl towards the back of the knife, towards the handle. If I hold the knife with the point upwards, the curls curl towards the point. Now, even if I wasn't able to light this directly from a ferro rod, I've got certainly enough shavings here that I could light with my ferro rod and then still use this to catch these curls here and then be able to move this around. But what I'm going to now do is see if we can light this up with the ferro rod. Okay, so here I've got a piece of wood that I quite often practice on. What I'm going to do is try lighting up these curls here, and if that doesn't work, then I'll light up this pile here and show you the benefits of a feather stick. Now, in the last video I managed to light some birch bark first go. Don't quite know if I'm going to be able to keep my 100% record, but let's go. Wasn't quite first time, but there we are, that's caught. So that'll burn up quite nicely now. And if I had other things for a fire prepared, then I could get that in there. I've got my other curls there. As you can see, I could move that around. I lit the other curls there as tinder. I could get those going. And even now, it's still burning a little bit. If I had that in the fire, if this was smaller, you would use a smaller piece of wood. If you were actually going to be making a feather stick, this is quite a large piece of wood that I was just practicing on. But yeah, you get the idea. So that's the point of a feather stick. So I would recommend just getting your knife, whatever knife you have. Take your favorite knife, because there's no point being able to make a feather stick with a knife like this if that's not the knife that you would take out with you. And there's also no point being able to make a feather stick with a knife like this if that's not the knife that you take with you. So whichever knife you usually take, practice with that and get some consistent curls going on. And as you saw, even if the curls don't stay on the stick, you can still get a nice fire going. You can light those up with a ferro rod, no problem whatsoever. But the feather stick does just mean that you have that little bit more control. You can move it around in the fire. So, get practicing, make your feather sticks, and post in the comments, let me know how you get on. Thanks for watching.
Everybody's raving about the real Frenchy two-step. Everybody wants to do this most fancy new step. It's a funny fair, Paris on a tear. Well, I do declare it is classy. Gabby brought the dance and it's got us all a-going. Since she came, no other